with Chase and Gerhard for WKXX Live.
Welcome in on a Wednesday afternoon. WKXX Live. Chase and Gerhard with you. Hope you're having a great day so far, as it is National Signing Day. And we've missed you the last couple of days. Hope you had a great weekend. Start to the week of this Christmas week. We are glad to be back live with you this afternoon. And boy, do we have a busy show today, as we are going to be diving into all things National Signing Day. We'll look at how things are going in Tuscaloosa. We'll look at how things are going in Auburn, Jacksonville State. Hopefully here in just a few minutes we'll be joined by Auburn commit Sylvester Smith from Munford High School. Coach Rich Rodriguez is scheduled to join us coming up as well shortly. Andrew Bone of Bama Insider will join us, and Jacksonville State signee Earl Woods, quarterback from Hueytown, will join us coming up at 3:15. So we've got a loaded show today, and very excited for you to be along. But we're working to bring you some great guests today, and it's always great to see these guys, to see these players, play, being able to play at the next level. And always great to be able to spotlight these players, give them the recognition that they need, and we have some great athletes in this area, and there's no doubt about it. So there's no surprise really. Alabama sitting at the top when it comes to rankings, and Auburn, of course, it was one of those things that coming into today, we weren't really sure how Auburn was going to be. Obviously, Hugh Freeze, it's his first recruiting class with the Auburn Tigers, and it's been a good day for Auburn so far, as he just wrapped up with the media shortly, just a short time ago, and so we'll try to get you some audio from that, but he's pleased with it. The staff there at Auburn were able to get some flips today. Guy from Ohio State flipping to Auburn. Of course, Sylvester Smith, who hopefully we'll talk to in just a little bit, he was committed to Tennessee, flipped over to Auburn. That was on Sunday morning. So we've got these guys who maybe they've had their verbal commit out, but have flipped. Couple have flipped over to Auburn. Quay Russaw, James Smith, two guys we'll be keeping an eye on the recruiting front. Those guys have committed to Alabama. They at 1 o'clock down at Montgomery, down at Carver Montgomery, they committed to the Crimson Tide. So that was a big pickup for Alabama there of getting Quay Russaw and James Smith, two of the top guys. When you look from top to bottom, and we'll give you a list coming up in a little bit, but this Alabama class, especially on defense, they could about put a whole starting 11 out there on defense right now. Really incredible what the staff there at Alabama has been able to do, but very exciting day today when it comes to National Signing Day. And like I mentioned, Alabama sitting there at the top. Does not look like they'll be going anywhere anytime soon. They're the 2023 class. This is just on defense. They've got 5-star Keon Keeley, edge rusher, 5-star defensive lineman James Smith, 4-star defensive lineman Jordan Renault, 4-star Yananzi Peer, 5-star Quay Russaw, 4-star Justin Jefferson, 4-star Jalil Hurley, 5-star Caleb Downs, and 4-star Tony Mitchell as well. So Alabama getting quite a few there on the defensive side of the ball today as well. We are excited right now to be joined by Auburn signee from Munford High School, also on the defensive side of the ball, Sylvester Smith, joining us now. Sylvester, congratulations. I know a big, exciting day for you. How's it been going for you?
It's been going good, still trying to kind of get used to being committed to Auburn and things like that. It's been a good day, though.
So take us through kind of the last few days, the last maybe 7 days for you, and the change and commit over to the Auburn Tigers. What kind of led to that? Take us through what's been going on.
So really, growing up as an Auburn fan and just being an in-state type of guy, I always want to be at Auburn. Getting into the whole recruitment deal. First off, I was going to go to Auburn from the jump, but there's so much inconsistency in the coaching staff and things like that I couldn't just, go there. So it was a decision to go to Tennessee. Tennessee was good to me. I mean, there's nothing against the balls, like that. But the hire with Hugh Freeze, that was just different. And hiring Coach McGriff and Coach Roberts and things like that was pretty much a sell for me. I knew pretty much Monday that Auburn was where I was going to be when Coach McGriff came to the school. Decommitting from Tennessee, it's been hectic, and committing to Auburn, it's been hectic to have everybody calling and texting me. And it's been crazy, but it's been a good time.
No doubt. Sylvester Gerhard here. What were some of the things that you heard from Coach Freeze, Coach McGriff, and some of the staff about what they're trying to do there at Auburn and your plans and what they have planned for you as you get started there?
Obviously, coming to Auburn, it's going to be some big shoes to fill, to get back to the tradition, get Auburn football and winning some games. And Coach Freeze and the playing with me, to come in and be one of the guys to step up and just play a role.
Sylvester Smith joining us has signed with the Auburn Tigers from Munford High School. Sylvester, what are some things maybe in your game that you're going to be working on as you get ready to go from the high school level into to SEC ball?
In my opinion, the biggest transition from high school ball to college ball is going to be, just getting bigger, getting in the weight room, being able to come down and play with the big boys, and just really just transitioning my body and, just getting bigger and things like that so I can play at a higher level with big boys.
For sure. You played a little bit of everything there at Munford between quarterback and running back a little bit, some receivers, some defense. What does Auburn have planned for you, and what are some of the things that you might see from yourself as far as on the field where you will fit best and kind of where your skills will show?
Auburn, they want me taking me as a safety, and really I see myself as just coming in, just competing. I just want to see how much I can compete and where I'm truly at in my game. I've been playing both sides of the ball since I've been in high school. So, the biggest thing is I'll be able to stay fresh. Just play 4 quarters, hard as I can and be fresh. That's about it.
Sylvester Smith joining us as he is signed with the Auburn Tigers from Munford High School. Exciting day for him and a lot of guys across the state who will be moving on to play at the next level. And I know for you, having grown up, played football, played in high school, I know it's got to be special knowing that now you have the opportunity to play right here in the state of Alabama and to play college ball.
Yes, sir. Thank you. That's a big deal.
For sure. You got a chance to play in some of the All-Star games and get kind of these postseason accolades. What has that been like as far as being able to kind of, measure yourself against some of the other guys that will play on the college level?
Going to the Mississippi All-Star week, I got a real good taste of what it's kind of going to be like. Just being with some top guys, being with around a bunch of people who are like me, and that was big. You're really just getting out there and compete. At the end of the day, when you get up there, it's going to be dudes everywhere, and it all comes down to who wants some more, who's going to compete the most. And that was one of the biggest things, just being a more and a bigger competitor.
Absolutely. Sylvester, congratulations. Excited for you to be able to be an Auburn Tiger. Appreciate you taking time and joining us this afternoon. We really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. You have a good day.
Thanks, man. You too.
You too. Sylvester Smith, Munford High School now, an Auburn Tiger, as he has signed his official letter of intent to play with the Auburn Tigers and was committed to Tennessee. Mm-hmm. news dropped Sunday morning that he was now committed to the Auburn Tigers, and I think he's going to be a good fit with Hugh Freeze.
I went to a bunch of Munford games over the last 2-3 years. He's the real deal. And you heard him say Fred McGriff came in or not Fred McGriff, Coach McGriff came in. He was one of the guys that, in my opinion, he is such a game changer as far as recruiting goes. And that was one of the biggest things that Hugh Freeze wanted. He wanted to get guys that could recruit, especially trying to turn over a roster so quickly. But Sylvester mentioned it. He was an Auburn fan. So Auburn already kind of had an in with him for a little bit. And then you add on top of that the new coaching staff, fresh energy, and I think a lot of that worked. But he was a really versatile player at Munford. And if you didn't get a chance to see him play on the high school level, he is the real deal. He did mention it. They'll need to get his body a little bit bigger, and I kind of agree with that. But once they do, he's got a good frame. He could put on 10 pounds, 15 pounds easy. But once they do, he'll be a special player for Auburn.
Well, Auburn has had a great day so far, as I mentioned at the beginning. Quite a few guys who have flipped and putting together what could be a top 15 recruiting class when it's all said and done.
Yeah, this is a really interesting deal what's going on here at Auburn. We saw this a little bit last year with the first-year head coaches at LSU and USC. You have to really accelerate your roster turnover really quickly. We saw Coach Kelly, we saw Coach Lincoln Riley do that, and now that you have a blueprint, you wanted to see how a seasoned coach like Hugh Freeze would do because he's recruited in the SEC, he's recruited Group of Five, and a little bit in between, and so you knew that he had at least the talent to do so. Could he get enough people around him to help secure these deals? Sylvester Smith is a great example of one of those guys that could do that. Then you round out your roster in the transfer portal as well. So considering how far behind the 8 ball they were, you have to really consider this a really positive day for Auburn.
Yep, you really do. Coming up, we'll dive into Jacksonville State recruiting. Hopefully, Coach Rich Rod will join us in a few moments. Andrew Bone at 2:30. We've got Earl Woods, who is committed to JSU. He will join us at 3:15. Lots of National Signing Day talk is up ahead, so stick around here on WKXX Live.
The Department of Labor can
We continue National Signing Day edition of WKXX Live. Chase Robinson, Gerhard Mathangani with you as we've got a lot to cover over the next couple of hours that we are with you. Appreciate Sylvester Smith for joining us there in the top of the show. Mumford High School is now signed with the Auburn Tigers. Hopefully here in just a few minutes, we'll be joined by Jacksonville State head coach Rich Rodriguez. Andrew Bone will join us coming up at 2:30. Jacksonville State has had a good day as well. Last year when Rich Rod was hired, he had 15 days until the early signing day. This year he's been had a year to recruit, and they brought in a good class,
a stellar class, considering what they had to work with. There were 13 players listed at the beginning, but then we just got word from their sports information department that another player has been added. So now 14 players overall. Looks like a nice balance on offense and defense. 7 players apiece on each side. So it's been a fluid day overall. From a position breakdown, offensively, they have 2 quarterbacks, a running back, an offensive lineman, a wide receiver, and a tight end. Meanwhile, on the other side, on the defensive side, they have 4 linebackers as well as a couple defensive linemen in there as well, and some help in their secondary. So it's an interesting, I think, a really solid class, a really good class overall. Last year, JSU really had to do a lot of work at the transfer portal. You would figure a lot of work once again will have to be done at the transfer portal. Defensively, they lose a lot of players, a lot of good players on that side of the ball. You think of guys like Savante Tullis and a few others that have really made their mark there on JSU's program. And so, JSU's doing so many things at once. They're trying to sign a recruiting class of high school players. They're trying to hit the transfer portal for some veteran guys. They're also preparing to jump into a whole new conference with a bunch of different players. JSU will run their system, but they have to get a different kind of player, a little different kind of player. They've always been able to recruit top talent, but where they're going now, they're kind of going uphill in so many different ways. But so far, they've answered every challenge.
Earl Woods, he's actually going to join us coming up at 3:15. He has signed with Jacksonville State from Hueytown High School. I'm excited to see him. I watched him in the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game. He rushed for 72 yards and had a touchdown. He passed for 60 yards. Also catching a couple of passes. He is a great quarterback on the ground, can throw it, 3-star guy. I'm really excited to see what he can do in this Rich Rod offense and have that offensive staff working with him.
Yeah, you just watch what Zion Webb was able to do. You watch what Pat White was able to do. I don't want to heap on him any expectations that are probably too far stretched, but I don't think they are with this kid. He has all the talent. He's got all the ability. He can run the football. Rich Rodriguez has said over and over again that the quarterback is a very dynamic part of what they like to do offensively from a running game standpoint. So I expect him to have a dynamic start to his career there at JSU. I think that his skill set fits perfectly with what Coach Rich Rodriguez and company like to do. But they're not afraid of some competition there as well. And they've signed 2 quarterbacks here today out of this class. So, another guy named Caden Creel, who's also from the state of Alabama, from Fairhope. So, so some competition there at the very position that he plays. I think it would be really interesting to see how it all kind of shapes out. But as far as pure skill set goes, he reminds you of a lot of previous guys in Rich Rodriguez's system.
Yeah. Speaking of Caden Creel, the other quarterback that signed with Jacksonville State, first team All-State guy, threw for 1,822 yards and ran for 1,186, had 23 touchdowns and averaged 274 yards of total offense per game. 3 times was the 7A player of the week in the state of Alabama. Very impressive. Also had an offer from Troy. I think he will also fit in good with what they have going there at Jacksonville State. But a great class from Jacksonville State. And we are joined right now by the head coach of the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. He is head coach Rich Rodriguez. Coach, appreciate you taking time with us and joining us this afternoon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
I know big day, great class for you and your staff bringing in there at Jacksonville State. Just your initial thoughts as these guys have signed on to be Gamecocks.
Yeah, I think the list is 14 guys. We actually have 15. There's one guy that's signed, but he's not going to announce it till a later time. And that's about twice as many as last year, which you'd think, because we've been here for a year now. And it's a pretty athletic class. It's addressed, obviously, some of our needs, but we still have some work to do. And as I mentioned earlier on my Zoom call, I mean, roster management is like a daily thing now with transfer portals and everything that's going on in college football. So this is just kind of maybe a brief highlight of some of the things that's been going on for us. But we hope to sign a few more in February and then probably save a couple more for the summer. And, hell, maybe a week or two before the first game, we still might be adding guys. So it's just crazy right now in college football, and we're in the middle of it.
Yeah, no doubt. We talked about just right before you hopped on how quarterbacks are such a big part of your scheme, running the football. You got two guys right here out of the state of Alabama, and Caden Creel and Earl Woods. What do each of those players bring to what you see and what your scheme is, and some of the ways that they can help you out?
Yeah, like we think we could feature whatever that quarterback's good at, whether it's throwing or running. But reality is we want them to be able to do both and can do both, and that's. So we focused on that in recruiting. And with the Caden and Earl, we got two athletic guys that are great leaders, that are winners, that can throw it, they can run it. They're not the biggest guys, but they're not small. I mean, they're not 150 pounds either. So they're actually big enough to actually run and have success on the college level. And what we liked about it so much is they make plays. And I have a friend of mine as a GM in the NFL, and he's always said, I asked him what he looks for. He said, we will look for a guy that makes plays in college. If he makes plays in college, he makes plays in pros. So I said, well, hell, that's the same thing I look for recruiting high school guys. If they make plays in high school, they're probably going to make plays in college if it's, it's at a good level. And these guys play at a good level, well coached, and they'll compete as soon as they get on campus.
As far as needs being met with your team and this class, what other needs do you guys have and spots to fill so far for as you look at this class of 2023?
Yeah, good question. We got to get bigger. We need some more big guys on the O-line and D-line. That's a pressing need. We need some speed at receiver. That's a big need. And then we need some secondary help because we had some guys graduate, and we got some holes to fill in the secondary. So those are probably the biggest needs right now. But we're on some good players. Like I said, I would hope that we will add a few more in January, and then we'll see what happens after spring ball as well.
Yeah, there's a player that you signed today that will be familiar with people here in the East Alabama area, and Kendall McCallum, who played his high school ball over at Oxford, signed with LSU. You guys were able to get him on board. What are some of the things that you saw from him and his ability to kind of fit in with what you guys do defensively?
Yeah, people can remember back in high school a few years ago. I mean, he was a highly recruited guy, went to LSU, very athletic, and now he's a grown man. He's been around a little bit. He's a local guy, so he's played it with J-Rock and playing those guys down there, and he's really excited about his. He's got a sense of maturity. He kind of knows what he wants now, and he's going to get a great opportunity to fill a spot of need for us. So we're happy to have him here, and he'll be here mid-year, so he'll get to start with us here in a month.
We're talking with Jacksonville State head coach Rich Rodriguez. And I know, Coach, last year when you were hired at really late November, early December, as the head coach, you had very few days before this early signing day. What was it like kind of now a year into this? You've had a whole year to recruit, to put together this class. I know that had to make it a little less stressful, not being such pressure on this early signing day.
Yeah, well, obviously it's easier than the first year. The first year was you didn't have time to do anything, but it's also frustrating because you spend, some kids you spend months on or whatever recruiting, and then they wind up getting bought at the end, because they get a deal from somewhere, and so even though it's easier from that respect, sometimes it can be frustrating too if you lose a guy just because he's getting paid or getting bought out. But that's what it is. I mean, we know that was going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to keep happening until they put some kind of guardrails or some kind of thing on that, and they may never do that. So we've got there's. I tell our coaches there's players everywhere, and we got to find them, to find the ones that we can win with, that we can have success with, that want to be here. And a part of that is obviously selling our program. Part of it is us selling the vision of what we're going to be, not just now, but in a year or 2 years from now when our facility is done and we're established in Conference USA and all that. So we got a great product to sell. We're showing pictures of it now instead of actually walking through it, but it's still something great to sell, and I think it's helping us.
Yeah, one of the things you just said dovetails with one of the things that I was going to bring up. Did you see a kind of an uptick in maybe some of the talent that you guys were either approaching or guys that were interested in you because of the move to the FBS and being in Conference USA and the talent level you'll have to play against starting next year?
Yeah, absolutely, and it needs to be. It's like we're brutally honest with our players all the time, and we told them we're going to another level, and there is a difference. And we've got Division 1A players on our roster already, so that's a good thing. But we needed more, and we're going to continue to need more. We're not going to be a full-fledged roster of Division 1A players next year. I mean, eventually we will be if we recruit right and we develop right. So with that in mind, I told our coaches our challenge was to sign guys that we feel that can play Division 1A football, certainly on a Group of 5 Conference USA level, and we think we did that with the ones we signed so far, and we've got to do that with the ones we signed going forward.
Excited about the future of Jacksonville State football. Head coach Rich Rodriguez joining us. Coach, really appreciate you taking a few minutes with us on a busy signing day. Always great to talk with you. We'll have to do it again soon, but appreciate your time today, Coach.
Okay, thanks, guys, and happy holidays to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Same
You
to
too.
The head coach, Rich Rodriguez, joining us here on National Signing Day. Sounds like he's pleased with the guys he's brought in.
Yeah, you could tell there's a certain enthusiasm and energy that he has with this class. He mentioned it. I think you had a great question about having a whole year to prepare for this, because last year they signed, I think you could count them on one hand and maybe a couple fingers on the other with guys that they signed. But now you get certain targets. You know who's interested in you. You know what you need. If you just go up and down JSU's early signing day list, it's a nice mix of guys that are coming straight out of high school and then a few guys that are coming from the JUCO ranks, because you need some guys that have played college football. Whether you play JUCO, Division II, Division III, it really doesn't matter. If you've played on that level, if you've played college football outside of high school, then you bring a certain element of experience that other players don't have. We'll talk about another guy in a little bit, in Austin Reed for Western Kentucky. He played at the Division II level, and then he came and tore it up in FBS. You want to find guys like that can produce. And just like you talked about with the NFL GM, do they make plays? So he found guys that made plays in high school, that made plays in JUCO, that can help him out. So you heard the excitement in his voice there, as they've done a lot to take care of some of their needs with some more to go.
Absolutely. Appreciate Coach Rich Rodriguez joining us. We've got to jump to a break. Andrew Bone with Bama Insider is up next. We continue on this Wednesday afternoon, National Signing Day. We're all over it here on Fox Sports 102.9. Chase Robinson here alongside Gerhard Mathangani as we continue with great guests this afternoon as Andrew Bone now joins us. BamaInsider.com covering Crimson Tide recruiting. Andrew, always great to talk with you on this busy National Signing Day.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chase. How you doing today?
Doing great, and what a great day for Alabama so far on picking up these guys in the class of 2023. And I know the excitement came from Alabama fans really all day, but I know a lot excited to see James Smith and Quay Russaw sign and commit to the Crimson Tide. But so many great guys signing with the Crimson Tide today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing that probably should get taken more notice of heading into today is Alabama's ability to keep all of its commits. There was some doubt at one point, at least probably from some fans and probably some some momentum on some of the other some of the other sites that but Caleb Downs and Justice Haynes were going to end up flipping and going somewhere else, whether that was to Ohio State or to Georgia. Alabama was able to keep the top two recruits in the state of Georgia, which is another humongous challenge, especially after Georgia wins the national championship last year. But then you go into signing day, kind of knowing that you were pretty good shape with all your commits, and then Quay Russaw, James Smith, the top two recruits in the state of Alabama. James Smith being the top defensive lineman in the country, according to On 3 Sports, and then Quay Russaw being the number one inside linebacker in the country. I think number one linebacker overall in the country, announcing his commitment to Alabama, and both of them have signed. So great day for the Tide. They currently have the number one recruiting class in the country, 27 signees. I don't expect any more news today, but there are a couple of players that we're going to be watching pretty closely tomorrow, and that's Jordan Hall, who's a four-star defensive lineman out of Jacksonville, Florida, and then Desmond Ricks, a five-star cornerback out of IMG Academy. I would say that Alabama's probably in a better position with Desmond Ricks than they are with Jordan Hall. I think Jordan Hall is pretty much a done deal to Georgia. I think that's kind of what everybody expects, and that's kind of what I expect as well. But with Desmond Ricks, things have gotten pretty tight over the course of the last couple of days, and everybody always thinks heading into the week of signing day that this is when that kids already know what they're going to do. I will say the last couple of days of the recruiting season are usually when it gets the most heated, and you have a lot of back and forth conversations with different coaching staffs. Desmond Ricks, a priority target for several schools, including Alabama, Florida, and LSU. Those are his top three programs. Heading into today, there was a lot of momentum on the LSU side. I think that Alabama has at least put themselves in contention over these last few hours, I guess last 24 hours, and we'll kind of see what happens tomorrow. But they are they're still in it with him, so we'll see if they're able to close it. It's certainly a position that they would love to add another target to, because they only have one cornerback in this class, and that's Jahil Hurley out of Florence High School. So they would love to add one more cornerback. If they miss on him, they'll probably look into the transfer portal. But overall, top to bottom, I think Alabama really couldn't have asked for a better day so far.
Yeah, no doubt. Andrew Gerhard here. Big picture question for you. When NIL came in, a lot of the talk around college football was, well, the playing ground will be even, and Alabama won't be able to keep up because of, and then X, Y, Z, whatever excuses people wanted to use. What do you make of what Alabama has been able to do navigating this new landscape in college sports, in college football, and college sports in general, and then still be able to sign the number one class, according to you guys at On3 and all the other recruiting services?
Yeah, it's been pretty impressive, because you've seen Coach Saban come out and be upset about NIL and said a lot of different things, but Alabama they tend to adapt. That's something that they've been able to do quite well through the years. When a lot of people have said that the dynasty was dead, because Nick Saban, couldn't handle the RPO game. He didn't. He was running a smash mouth offense. He didn't have this high-powered, offense that was going to score, 50 points a game. And he's continued to adapt and change the way that Alabama does things. And just from talking to all these recruits throughout the entire season, I mean, we've heard about NIL, and there's a lot of kids who are more upfront about it this year than ever before because it is legal. You can talk about NIL. You know that you're getting a good deal at a lot of these schools, and I think it's foolish to say that schools like Alabama and Auburn or Georgia or whoever's not really playing the NIL game. I think they are, but they're also doing it more from an education standpoint. Letting these kids know exactly what they can and can't do. I do think that there's some instances that we've seen throughout this recruiting cycle and even last recruiting cycle that a lot of these kids are just getting payouts, and that's all that kind of matters to them. But I think Alabama's done a good job there. I mean, there's a lot of programs out there that are doing good jobs there as far as education, selling their program, but also, there's a lot of good NIL opportunities at a lot of programs. But that's not the main focus that Alabama has. They're not really saying, hey, come here because we're going to give you a great NIL deal. Come here because we can develop you. You can be part of a great program, play for Coach Saban, play for a great team. But you also know that you are going to get great NIL deals at Alabama because it is the quintessential program in college football, and they know that. They know that they're going to be taken care of, so it's not really that big of a deal once kids start making their decisions.
We're talking with Andrew Bone, BamaInsider.com. Andrew, do you see any of these guys in this class making immediate impact for the Crimson Tide?
Absolutely. I think anytime you can get kids on campus in January, and in Alabama's case, they've got kids already there. I think 10 overall recruits are already starting bowl practice with the Alabama team, including 2 today who just arrived, and that's Caleb Downs and Justice Haynes, the top 2 recruits in Georgia. So getting them on campus early, obviously really big. But, with Alabama, I think anytime you bring in a junior college player, there's always high expectations. And you're not bringing in a junior college player to sit the bench. You're recruiting those guys because there's a need and because you need to get those guys on the field. And I think with Malik Benson, the top JUCO player in the country, 5-star wide receiver, I think he's gonna have a great chance to see the field early. I think Justin Jefferson, the number 1 defensive recruit in the country out of junior college, out of Pearl River Community College, I think he's going to have a great chance to contribute early at inside linebacker for the Tide. But look at some of these other guys that are already on campus, whether they're offensive linemen, which Caden Proctor, the 5-star tackle out of Iowa, is going to be arriving in Tuscaloosa in January. So I can kind of see him potentially making an early impact and starting. I think it's going to be really hard to keep Caleb Downs off the field because of just how talented he is. I think he's just as good as Minka Fitzpatrick coming out of high school. I think he's got a chance to make a really big impact as a true freshman. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw some of the running backs potentially contribute. Justice Haynes, Richard Young, both of those guys are already, or Justice Haynes is already in Tuscaloosa. Richard Young's coming up next month. So, those 2 guys getting to Tuscaloosa a little bit earlier, certainly going to help them as far as, trying to see the field early. But a lot of great kids overall in this class. I think the biggest thing with most of them is a lot of them are getting to Tuscaloosa in January. The majority of Alabama's class is there in January. I think they were really hoping that Connor Talty, the kicker in the class, would be there, but his school doesn't allow early graduation. But he's probably going to have a chance even when he comes in June to contribute or to contend for the starting job at the place kicker position.
Yeah, for sure. Andrew, I was really interested in Caden Proctor. That was one of the ones that was kind of eye-opening, considering the fact he's less than 2 miles away from the school he was committed to the entire time, being from Des Moines and going to the University of Iowa, and then now going 12-plus hours away to Tuscaloosa. What'd you make of his deal? What have you heard for some of the reasons why he decided Tuscaloosa was going to be his home?
Well, I think obviously the development of the position. Not to say that Iowa's had some great players, but he also knows that he's going to go up against elite talent every single day. He's going to go up against defensive linemen that are going to be playing in the NFL. He's going to get coached hard, and he's going to have an opportunity to come into Tuscaloosa and contribute right away for a national championship caliber program. So I think those were some things that really made a difference in his recruitment. Also, the relationship with first-year offensive line coach Eric Wolford. Thought he did a great job. They really did a overwhelming job at the offensive line position. You look at, I think 4 of the guys are over 6'6", over 300 pounds. So you got a lot of beef in this class, and all those guys are enrolling early too. So we've seen some offensive linemen transfer out of Alabama. They're bringing in a great group, and definitely some guys that I feel like are going to be able to contribute.
Exciting stuff on this National Signing Day for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Andrew Bone doing great work keeping us up to date with this class of 2023 for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Again, check out BamaInsider.com for everything you need to know Crimson Tide recruiting. Andrew, as always, really appreciate you talking with us on this National Signing Day.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me. Have a great one.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you.
Andrew Bone, BamaInsider.com, as a big day for the Crimson Tide. You mentioned Proctor, man. What a surprise that was, seeing that come through this morning, that he committed and flipped that commitment to the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, and I think Andrew makes a lot of great points about some of the reasons why. Iowa is a very solid program, but let's just be honest about the Big Ten and what the Big Ten has become. It has become a Michigan-Ohio State situation there. And the fact that he was interested in Alabama and he had a good relationship with Alabama's offensive line coach, I think the move became a little bit easier for him to make. And we've seen some of these guys that are not from the state of Alabama, guys like Ryan Kelly and some others that are not from the state of Alabama, that are offensive linemen that get attracted to play to Alabama.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily because they don't like their old school. It's because at Alabama, if you're an offensive lineman, hey, every single day you're going to go up against Will Anderson and Dallas Clark. And all these guys are going to be first-round draft picks in the NFL. You don't just see them on game day. You see them on Tuesday, and then you see them in spring, and you see them in the weight room, and you have a chance to rub off and sharpen your talent. So I think it's really attractive for players like he and others.
I think so as well. But that's big for the class of 2023 for the Alabama Crimson Tide. As we mentioned, Quay Russaw and James Smith, we knew they were going to be a package deal. They signed on with the Crimson Tide. Caleb Downs, a guy who, like Andrew said earlier, him and Tony Mitchell, both folks thought they may be flipping their commitments. And I know Tony Mitchell, there was some thoughts that he could go across the state to Auburn, ended up staying with Alabama, but definitely some traction, I think, with Auburn prior to today.
Yeah, according to the reports at Thompson's big ceremony, of course, Thompson 7A state champions for 4 times in a row. They obviously had a really big signing class. We knew Peter Woods was going to Clemson. They had a lot of others, but Tony Mitchell's one of the last ones, and he had 3 hats in front of him. Everybody thought maybe Alabama, but he also had Auburn and Texas A&M. So a lot of people thought, hey, has Auburn and Hugh Freeze, this staff has done a lot. We've seen them flip guys. Is he going to be another one? He being Tony Mitchell ends up going with Alabama. And I think it's another situation where he might think he can be able to get on the field a lot earlier. You think about guys like Jordan Battle going on to the next level. And you think about good talent there at that position, and you're being coached by Nick Saban, whether it's directly or indirectly. A guy that's put so many players in the NFL, Patrick Surtain, Minka Fitzpatrick, others from that defensive backfield. It was really entertaining to see that battle play out, but Mitchell and others ended up signing with Alabama.
Yep. So a big day for the Crimson Tide, and it's remarkable that Nick Saban is still able to recruit at the level he is, with all the changes in college sports, with the NIL, with everything else. He's still bringing in these number 1 classes, and I think all the folks that said the dynasty's over, Alabama's, whatever people were saying this year after the 2 losses, today proves that Alabama's not going anywhere. The level of talent that is coming into Tuscaloosa in this class is incredible.
Yeah, no doubt. When it reminds me, Nick Saban, it's the law of the conservation of energy. You know, they say energy is not created or destroyed. It just transfers from one place to another. I don't know where Nick Saban gets the energy from at this age, but he can still recruit with everybody here at 70, 71 years old. And that's a lot of flights. It's a lot of energy being given out to Zoom calls, to making sure that you're still doing what you need to do for bowl prep. But I don't know where and how Nick Saban does it, but you're starting to see and feel this revived energy to be able to compete at a high level. They were always going to start in top 10 class. Top 5 class, more or less, is still guaranteed, just about, because of the program and the brand that he was able to offer. But I think what Andrew was suggesting was such a positive thing. The ability to adapt. That's where Nick Saban's genius lies, whether it's on the field and in recruiting, now off the field, because he understands recruiting is the lifeblood of the program. And when the NCAA doesn't mandate things that change, you just got to roll with the times. And so he's done so on the field, and he's done so off the field as well. But signing this class, and you just look up and down the list, and it's really, really impressive. And as Andrew said, a lot of these guys will be coming in January. So you graduate high school early, you can come in January, and you can get a leg up on 2, 3, 4, 5 months of working out and training that other guys aren't getting.
Yeah, and that's big now. We talk about the changes. We don't talk a lot about that. We've kind of been seeing an uptick in that as of late. But, yeah, these guys are able to graduate early and get on campus and get a head start. And that's why I think you're seeing more of these freshmen on the field, is because they have a chance to get in, to learn the system. When you come in, after spring, when you come in the summer, you've got a lot to learn in really 2 months before fall camp starts. Yeah. But you're able to get on campus now and work out and go through spring. That really enhances your chances of playing as freshmen.
Yeah, you have to really invest in yourself. And that's the big thing with all these guys that are leaving from high school. Most of these guys play other sports as well. Yeah. Some of these guys will run track or play baseball, do other things, maybe even wrestle for your big offensive lineman and defensive lineman. Well, you can't do that. So you're just taking an investment out on yourself that, hey, you've put in the work. Now, can you get a head start? Get 7 months in. Yeah. Because when other freshmen come in and they classify and they come in for off-season workouts, usually July or so, right before fall camp, you can get 6 months on a college campus. You already have your feet wet. You know the playbook. You feel good. A lot of times you had an opportunity to be in bowl practice. Not everybody, but a lot of them have opportunity to be in bowl practice. You just get so well adjusted with those 6 months on campus.
Oh, for sure. And so, and that surprised me. One of the guys, their school doesn't allow that. I thought that was surprising.
There is some of that. I know that there's, especially at some private schools, you see a lot of that where unless you have just taken so many advanced placement classes coming into your senior year, some of them don't offer it where you could just get the accelerated, a lot of times these guys will plan this out. So you plan it out from your junior year. So the summer of your junior year and the summer going into your senior year, you try to knock out some credits thinking, hey, if you're taking 2 years down the road, hey, I could probably graduate a little bit early. You take those summer classes there. But I have heard that where some schools just don't offer it. It looks like that kicker will have to stay in high school at St. Rita High School in Chicago, Illinois is where he goes to school. So it looks like he'll have to stay on for a few more months and then kick at Alabama when he gets there.
Yep. So big stuff happening there with the Crimson Tide. I want to dive into Auburn coming up at the top of the hour, and we'll look at the Auburn class, what Hugh Freeze was able to do here in really a short time. Was able to flip some guys. We'll dive into that coming up at the top of the hour. Earl Woods will join us at 3:15. The quarterback commit for the Jacksonville State Gamecocks, Hueytown High School quarterback product. So we'll talk with him at 3:15. We will have our weekly Weiss-Lake fishing report coming up at 3:30. So we've got a lot to get to coming up in hour number 2 as well. We've had great interviews here in the first hour. We talked with Sylvester Smith to start the show from Munford High School as he has signed on with the Auburn Tigers. We talked with Jacksonville State head coach Rich Rodriguez. We talked with Andrew Bone of Bama Insider. We will put those up on our WKXX Live podcast channel for you to listen to there at your convenience. But really appreciate all these guys for joining us today, as it is I know been a busy day as far as National Signing Day always is. this time of the year. Is I know, coaches, you can't take a breath yet because you have another signing day coming up in February. But you can kind of breathe a little bit because a lot of your guys are signing right now.
Yeah, for the most part. The majority of your class is already in-house now. There are some guys that you'll be able to get in the later signing period. And a lot of the guys that sign in the later signing period, what they're doing right now is waiting for today's dust to settle and finding out where there are spots. So if you are a team that has a few empty spots or maybe some rooms you want to fill in with guys that have some talent, you can go in, whether it's the transfer portal or you can go to the guys that haven't signed yet and be able to scoop those players up. So it's a situation to where at the very beginning, when this thing was first enrolled, I think maybe 30% of your class was signed, and it's gone to more and more and more. And now it's probably 95% of your guys are signed, and you just kind of take one or two guys there in the late signing period. So some work to do for some schools. Every school is a little bit different now. It used to be a kind of even playing ground, but everybody's playing with different roster control, as Coach Rich Rodriguez told us earlier.
So that's happening there. We will talk Auburn coming up here in just a minute, as we'll hear from head coach Hugh Freeze. Again, Earl Woods joins us at 3:15. All that to come in hour 2. That is next here on WKXX Live.
Get our best deals of the year with a
good space, and I believe that's because of the culture he's curated down there.
For WKXX Live, these guys have you covered from preps to pros and everything in between. Now, let's go inside the Fox Sports 102.9 studio with Chase and Gerhard for WKXX Live.
Hour number 2 on this Wednesday, National Signing Day of WKXX Live, Fox Sports 102.9. Chase Robinson and Gerhard Mathengani here with you as it has been a busy signing day. Alabama, Georgia, the top 2 classes in the country. Alabama at the top. According to 24/7 Sports, their top 100, Alabama got 14 of the top 100 on the 24/7 Sports rankings.
And you just don't see that because you see a lot of the love being spread out here in college football, especially with the explosion of NIL. So for that to happen to Alabama, a program like Andrew Bone said and others have said, oh, well, you know, they might be dying. Obviously, Bone not saying that as himself, but saying that as somebody who's observing the media world and kind of the talking points that were going into whenever NIL was first talked about. But you could just tell that Alabama still is a destination place that a lot of players still want to go to. And it used to be because of the talent and because you had a chance to play for national championships. Now it's talent, national championships, and you can still make the same amount of money there that you could make somewhere else because of the NIL and because of the opportunities that Alabama helps you present. And so, you know, we've gotten to a spot here where I think it's really interesting kind of seeing the way that it's all playing out. And then you take that vis-a-vis some of the other top dog programs that are making a run. Georgia, apparently, once again, the stat that I heard was the 7th straight year with a top 3 recruiting class.
Wow.
Miami, we all know what Miami has to offer. Ohio State, same situation as Alabama. They're a legacy brand, but they're one of those that can offer you a chance to playoffs, chance at the national championship, also a chance there at the NFL. And then we also see Texas, Miami are some of the ones that we thought would be, kind of the newcomers, quote unquote, so to speak, that can build their roster because of the NIL deals that they have to offer. Well, no, it's not that. It's Alabama and it's Georgia, 1-2 among most of the rankings.
Yep. And the Auburn Tigers have had a good day today, though, as they're looking at probably what will be a top 15 class for the Auburn Tigers. They've had 17 commits, couple of transfers on the board. Of course, we knew Jeremiah Cobb was going to be a guy that they would be able to bring in as he had committed. But you look at some other guys like 4-star Darren Reed, Terrence Love, Sylvester Smith, who we talked to earlier on in the show, flipping from Tennessee to Auburn. And so lots have happened. A couple of guys who we were not expecting really at all to go to Auburn flipped over to the Tigers.
Yeah, and Auburn's done, I think, a really good job of being able to sell their message. That's one of the biggest things. We'll have some sound from Hugh Freeze's opening comments coming your way in just a little bit. I think one of the big things for Auburn this year was getting on the same message. Everybody getting on the same message about what Auburn can be. And I think that started with hire number 1, day number 1, when Hugh Freeze said, Cadillac is a part of our staff. Yep. Cadillac is staying on our staff. I think that all of this really snowballed from that moment. And all of what Auburn's been able to do in the offseason has snowballed since naming Cadillac Williams the interim coach, because he kept the ball rolling as far as the passion goes. And then Coach Hugh Freeze kept the ball rolling as far as the recruiting goes. He and Christian Robinson and some of the others that have been able to keep the momentum rolling and keep the guys that were in the fold, and then let other people know, hey, Auburn will be a destination spot. And so Hugh Freeze, with the talent he was able to bring in at his previous stops there at Ole Miss, as well as at Liberty, you knew that some talent was going to be on the way, and he was able to get that, once again here today, for his squad. And so I just find it really interesting that he's been able to do so and keep that momentum rolling.
Kayan Lee, a top 24/7 cornerback from the state of Georgia, committed to Ohio State. Now, a couple of weeks ago, he made his official visit to Auburn. Ohio State and Auburn both made in-home visits. to Kayan Lee, but he flipped to the Auburn Tigers, and that was a huge get. Zach Etheridge kind of leading the charge there for Kayan Lee. That was big for Auburn. And again, you mentioned Cadillac, another one of these coaches that Hugh Freeze kept from the previous staff. He's an Auburn guy and was able to bring in Lee.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that for both Lee and for everybody else, are you married to this vision? Are you married to what Auburn is trying to do? I think that they were able to sell that message, number one, and get, at the same time, be able to get in a position to where you can tell recruits, hey, this is what we're doing. These are the guys that we're building, and this is what we think that we can build from you and see from you. We heard this for a little bit from Sylvester Smith, that they want to name him a safety, but they told him specifically, very honest about what they're trying to do with him, and saying, hey, look, we want you at safety. This is where we think you can bloom. This is what you need to do. Just being very honest with guys, and I think that players like that. Players really respect that message, and saying that, you know, I'm willing to go to Auburn and put in the work to do what I need to do to be a part of a program that's on the rise.
Well, we had a chance to hear from the Auburn head coach, Hugh Freeze, on his first signing class.
Yeah, he talked a little bit about where the program was when he first got it, and then some of the things they needed to do in a very quick time period, and some of the positions they were able to fill in that time period, and kind of the class overall general consensus of each position group.
And I have to say, first and foremost, the Zach and Cadillac, and even C-Rob, I think, and probably others too that I'm not totally aware of, but those guys never gave up in trying to hold on to some relationships that had been formed throughout the previous years, along with people in the building, and they deserve a ton of credit for hanging us in the fight until we could get what these families appeared to have some stability and some direction and some vision for our program. And so I'm thankful for those guys. They were faithful to the Auburn family and held us in there with a lot of guys, and then we could get our staff here in place and get in the homes and share the vision with some families, and able to, in a short amount of time, depending on what you look at, I've heard all the numbers, but go from somewhere like 60th to, you know, whatever we are today. I've seen 20th, 19, 16. I never know exactly what those mean, but we're somewhere in that ballpark, and I think that's a remarkable job by not only our on-the-field coaches that were actively out and getting after it, but also the people that serve this program here in the building, from compliance to all of our recruiting staff, and all the people that just served and made the families that came on the visits really feel like, man, there's something special that could be occurring here. So there's a lot of people to thank, and I'm sure I'm forgetting people, but I wanted to start just by saying that there's a lot of people that really held us in some battles for some really good players, and we're excited that showed some to fruition today, and some of these young men and their families. So thought we really did well with the DB room, and made some dents in our needs in the offensive line room. Edge guys, I thought we did really well with. On defense, interior, we still have a little work to do, and we still have some work to do in the O-line. We're not through there. We're not through anywhere. We still have some big targets out there that hopefully we can close on either now or in the second wave when we hit the road when we get back in January, and then the early visits in January.
That was Hugh Freeze, Auburn head coach, as he wraps up early signing period. as great class coming in for Hugh Freeze. And I think for those that maybe questioned what he could do recruiting, I think to be able to come in and do what he's done shows that he can recruit the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah, and you heard it even in the soundbite there where he mentions, the recruiting services and where they're ranked, and Auburn was not looking good. I mean, Auburn was being out-recruited by teams that Auburn has no business being out-recruited by, considering the resources that Auburn puts into their facilities and the big honking facility they have right now. Auburn was behind some teams that were beneath them as far as what Auburn should be able to get as far as talent goes. And they were able to turn that around very quickly and address some needs there. So that part has to be really, really exciting. It depends on where you look about where Auburn is. I'm looking at 24/7 Sports. They have Auburn at 19, ESPN somewhere in the 20s last time I saw, and then On3 has them at number 16 right now in the country with 19 overall prospects as we sit right here. And as Hugh Freeze said, there will be some more players that they want to add in the February signing day as well. So we talked about it earlier. Bama with I believe 27 guys, they'll probably be really quiet come February, but Auburn with 19, 20 guys, they'll probably be really active that time, and especially with that as well as the transfer portal. So it'll be a really interesting time, not just today, but seeing to where Auburn might be in the next 8-10 weeks.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So exciting stuff there for the Auburn Tigers. Coming up after this break, we will talk with Earl Woods. He has signed on with the Jacksonville State Gamecocks from Hueytown High School. We'll talk with Earl Woods coming up next.
Being in the Army National Guard is about more
We continue on this Wednesday afternoon. Fox Sports 102.9. It is National Signing Day. Lots of athletes across the country signing their letters of intent to play college football. Always exciting to see these high school athletes be able to play at the next level. We've got one of those athletes on the phone with us now from Hueytown High School. Quarterback has signed on to be a Jacksonville State Gamecock. Earl Woods joining us. Earl, appreciate your time this afternoon. Congratulations. I know exciting day for you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
So you've signed on to play for Rich Rodriguez in Jacksonville State. What kind of led to that decision that you wanted to play college football for the Jacksonville State Gamecocks?
I just felt like it was the right decision for me, and it felt like home when I took my official visit and my visit passed. And I just felt like the offense it fits me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because you take a look at the guys that have played under Coach Rich Rodriguez and some of the players that they've groomed over time. And I'm sure they told you about this on the recruiting trip and you saw it in your time there. What were some of the things that you see in your game that will really work in what Rich Rodriguez and that offense like to do?
My running game, for real, and the way, how his offense is set up is just like my high school offense. So, yeah, I feel like it's the right fit for me.
So what's the recruiting process been like for you, and how long have you said, Jacksonville State is where I want to play?
It took me time to make my decision because I really had to talk with my parents and talk to God about it. But I've been locked in with them for probably about 5 months now.
Yeah, no doubt. You have a really balanced game where you rush for over 1,500 yards. You were able to pass for over 1,800 yards there in high school. What are some of the things that you've seen in your game improve over the last maybe 3, 4, 5 years as a quarterback?
Everything really, like me making my progressions, getting the ball to my check down, me hitting hole shots when I need to, just everything, tucking the ball, running it, and throwing the ball away when I need to.
And I know you had the chance to play in the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game. What was that experience like? And playing against some really good athletes from not only on your team, but the guys across the way from Team Mississippi.
It was a great experience for me, knowing that I can go out there and compete with some of the best and knowing that I'm capable of going out there and compete with others that's got the same talent as me or even better.
Hueytown High School is not that far away from Jacksonville State's campus. How much of an importance was that to you, staying relatively close to home? You're far enough to be, a little bit far away, but you're not too far from home.
Yes, it played a big decision in my recruitment. That's one thing that really stood out to me, that is not far away from home.
We're talking with Earl Woods, who's signed to play with the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. What are you now looking to improve in your game as you get ready to go from playing in high school to now playing in college? What are some things you're looking to improve on?
Everything, really, because in college, the athletes are bigger, faster, and stronger. So I'm just willing to improve my all-around game.
One of the big things for you is you've obviously played a really long time. If you were to isolate a few moments from your days in high school, what are some of the things that stick out to you from the time you put on the helmet for the very first time to the time that you took it off at the All-Star game?
I had a lot of good high school moments. I mean, every moment was good, knowing that I had a chance to do what I love. So,
Earl Woods will be a Jacksonville State Gamecock, part of this class of 2023 for head coach Rich Rodriguez. Earl, we're looking forward to seeing you in a Gamecock uniform there at Jacksonville State. Appreciate you coming on and talking with us this afternoon. Congratulations, man.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Congratulations, buddy.
Earl Woods, Hueytown High School quarterback, now signed on to be a Jacksonville State Gamecock. We'll see him in playing in that Rich Rod offense that just from watching him in the Alabama-Mississippi game, watching some highlights from him, I think he fits really well in what Rich Rod's doing there at Jacksonville State.
They have to be really excited. If you just look at his stats from the past few years, he's been an effective thrower. So it's not that, he just, is a runner that plays quarterback. He is a very, very good thrower of the football. And one of the things he just mentioned was one of his things that he's worked on is going through his progressions, getting it checked down in. So being wise in the passing game, but with the ability to run the football.
Absolutely. Well, let's go to the phone lines here. We got Bo on with us. How are you, Bo? It's been a while.
I'm doing good. How about y'all?
Doing well.
Doing well.
Well, I tell you what, that kid you had on you was just interviewing that Woods kid.
Yeah.
I watched him in that All-Star game, and I mean, he was a crackerjack little ball player. I tell you what, the Jack State they stole him, so somebody's going to regret not trying to get him.
You're right, man. Yeah. I think he's going to fit really well.
But what do you think about the Braves? I know Dansby is not going to be on the team anymore. I guess he's gone now.
Yeah, he is. I wasn't sure. Just all the noise that's been around. I kind of was expecting him not to be back. We'll see what Vaughn Grissom can do. I think he's going to be the guy that'll take over next. Alex Anthopoulos had said so many times, just comparing Austin Riley coming in for Donaldson, and now Grissom coming in for Dansby. It's kind of the comparison he's been making, but we'll see.
Well, I still like our team. I mean, our nucleus is still good, and I was reading an article the other day on the Braves website about said we might have 6 starters. And when you start looking at them, if they're planning on Soroka to come back a little bit, and I hope they can get him well.
Oh yeah,
and he can really help his staff if he can come back.
Oh, that is for sure. He would be very helpful there.
All right, guys, I'll let you go. Y'all have good holidays, and I'll rate you later here.
Sounds good. Thank you, Bo.
Thank you, Bo.
Yes,
have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
Appreciate the call there from Bo. You can give us a call, 256-413-1029 if you'd like to call in this afternoon. We've had a very busy show. Great guests. We'll have Elliot Galt on with us coming up at 3:30 with our weekly Weiss Lake Fishing Report. But busy day for National Signing Day. Always is. And we've been all over the place today.
Yeah, we certainly have. With actual commitments who put pen to paper this morning, going to SEC schools, going to Jacksonville State, to coaches that are signing guys, and guys like Rich Rodriguez, to guys that cover this big picture like Andrew Bone. It's been an information packed show. Bo hit it on the head with Earl Woods. I think what we saw at the All-Star game is probably a little bit more exciting than what you were able to see on film from Hueytown, because with the Gophers, it's against high school competition. Great high school competition, by the way. He plays 6A football at a very high level. But that All-Star game, you're going up against other SEC-type players. And as Coach Rich Rodriguez told us earlier, there's a lot of D1, high D1 players on this football team. And I think Earl Woods is going to be another one of these guys that, when it's all said and done, it's like, whoa. A lot of teams passed up on him. But JSU will definitely use that to their advantage, going to the group of 5, going into Conference USA, and looking to pull off maybe what Troy and South Alabama and these teams were able to do, UAB in the past, go up there, sneak up on some people, and probably put themselves in a position for a playoff down the road when it expands.
Yeah, great point there. But exciting stuff for Jacksonville State. You mentioned bringing in this class. You want to have a good class as you move into this. And Coach Rich Rod said this. They've got a good product to sell.
Yeah.
With moving into Conference USA, moving into FBS. And I think we'll continue to see classes grow. Obviously, more scholarships being given. But when you're able to sell, you're going to play Division I football.
Mm-hmm.
Kids want to jump on that.
Yeah, no doubt. And if you want to see it for yourself, go over to JSUGamecocksports.com. It's their homepage. It's Jacksonville State's homepage, or just Google JSU Athletics, and go look at the signing day. Look at the imaging and the marketing around what they're doing for signing day.
Yeah.
They've ghosted in the background the blueprint for everything that they're building. And they're letting people know, and Coach Rich Rod just told us earlier, we're able to show players pictures of what we're building, of what we're doing. It's not just, an empty setting. They can envision themselves at a big time program. So to watch the manifestation unfold in real time, a lot of these players, a lot of the previous players are going on faith. A lot of these players are going on, this can be a place where I can go. So yeah, JSU has got a lot to offer right now, and you're starting to see it in physical form. And if you just go to their homepage, you're able to see it right there. And I think that it really sends a message to not only recruits, but guys in the transfer portal that are thinking about Jacksonville State.
Yeah, that is for sure. We'll jump to a break. We'll have our weekly Y Select Fishing Report with Elliot Gaud coming up next.
The Press Box.
It is WKXX Live, Fox Sports 102.9. Chase and Gerhard Here with you on this Wednesday afternoon. It is 3:30, which means it's time for our weekly Weiss Lake Fishing Report. And to do that, we welcome on Elliot Gaunt with Weiss Lake Tackle and Outdoor. Elliot, as always, appreciate you joining us on this little cold snap here across the country. How's the fishing going?
Fishing's good. The fish don't mind the cold as much as we do. It's hard on us, but it's not as hard on them.
Yeah, Elliot, Gerhard here. I was going to ask you about the actual patterns, like where, as far as anglers can go to actually, catch these things when it gets colder. Is it any different? I know from a temperature standpoint, they don't mind it, but from an angler standpoint, does it matter kind of where you go, what part of the water you hit?
They will move out a little deeper than if the sun's shining and it's a little warmer. They'll tend to stay shallow if it's a little warmer and the sun's shining. But if it's as cold as it's going to be these next few days, they will move out a little deeper. But you'll be surprised that most of the biggest fish you'll catch will come on the crappiest weather, on the coldest, spit snow, wind blowing. That's when your biggest fish seem to bite. I don't know why that is, but the biggest bass and the biggest crappie you'll catch will be in some of the worst weather. But they're biting good still. Have 8 to 12 foot on the end of docks with brush on them. You still can catch them really good with a crappie jig, not having to go to minnows yet. So the crappie fishing is definitely really good. The bass fishing, if you can brave it out there in the wind, it's good too. You can catch, like I said, some of the biggest stringers you'll catch will be in the wintertime, and it's kind of a Alabama rig dirt bait type thing. They want to hit either small schools of bait or some compromised bait fish, and that's what a jerk bait mimics is a hurt bait fish. So you will have to take your time and pause your jerk bait retrieve a little longer during the cold water because it does make them a little more lethargic. But other than that, the fish has been really good.
So, and I know you probably have to be a serious fisherman to go out maybe like Friday and Saturday when it's 20s and 30s outside. Do a lot of folks go out and fish in that weather?
Like I said, fishermen are a different breed. I've had several people asking me to go with them Friday. It's going to be an Arctic blast, as they call it, and for some reason, we have this gene in us that makes us want to get out there and chase the chance of catching a really big fish. So, there will be several people going, but the people that aren't just die hard serious about it, they'll probably stay at home in the heat. But you will have boats out on the water for sure.
That's interesting. There, you mentioned some of the things folks are catching fish on. Anything else that you can use right now and catch fish at this point?
Yeah, you can catch them going slow with a ball head jig, about a half-ounce ball head jig with a chunk on the back of it. My favorite's a Berkeley Maxent chunk on the back of any ball head jig. So we sell several different brands. Shinbone Ridge is a local one made here. They're really good. The water's a little muddy here, still 3 foot low, but a little muddy. So it's a black and blue kind of. You want to throw black and blue in this muddy water, and then crankbaits. They always catch them on crankbaits. I caught them really good last week on a red 10-foot diving crankbait. I probably caught 30 to 35 keepers. So you can catch them on several different ways, but the main way that's going to keep you warm and keep you interested is Alabama rig, because it's a heavy bait. It's got 5 swim baits on it, and it's going to keep you warm because it's heavy to throw and it takes a lot of effort.
Interesting stuff there. Elliot Gaunt joining us on our weekly Weiss Lake Fishing Report. What are folks buying up at the store right now? I know Christmas a few days away. Folks can get up there and buy something there at Weiss Lake Tackle and Outdoor. But what have been the hot items lately?
We got a new rod in, MMA Outdoors Rods. It's a new rod company built right here in Alabama. I believe in the Gadsden or Talladega area. I'm not 100% on where, but it's definitely a local rod company. They're a higher end rod. They retail for about $250, I believe. I sell them for $235. Super sensitive, super lightweight. But we're selling a lot of gift cards right now and stocking stuffers. We got a new rod cover company called G-Socks, and it's kind of a unique thing because they got a big plastic sleeve that goes over the end of your rod sleeve where it covers up the bait when it's hooked onto your rod, so it don't get tangled up in every other rod you have. So we've got several new things coming in. This is the time of the year when all the bait companies release something new. We got a new load of Spro crankbaits coming in Friday morning that have not hit the shelves yet. This will be the first time they could be here. Then we also got a new Rapala bait that came out last week. It was a square bill they make, the balsa wood square bill, which makes it better for wintertime fishing because it kind of floats a little different. So got several new things coming in, and ultimately you sell more hard baits and fishing rods this time of year than anything because of just the kind of fishing it takes during the winter.
Elliot Galt with Weiss Lake Tackle and Outdoor joining us, and go check him out. You can check them out on Facebook, Weiss Lake Tackle and Outdoor, but go by and see them. Get some last-minute Christmas gifts there at Weiss Lake Tackle and Outdoor, right off Cedar Bluff Road there in Center. But, Elliot, always appreciate talking to you. Have a Merry Christmas, and we will talk to you next week.
Thank you, sir.
Elliot Galt, Weiss Lake Tackle and Outdoor on our weekly Weiss Lake Fishing Report. Before we get to break, I want to mention former Jackson State Travis Hunter. You know, he's a guy that last year on this day we were talking a lot about because he was committed to Florida State. He flipped to Jackson State. He is now in the transfer portal, and the guy knows that he is he's a wanted man.
Yeah.
And he has been very active today, and very, very proud of himself.
He certainly is.
His tweet earlier, 3 hours ago, what fan base wants an early Christmas present?
Wow. I mean, you can go out to the store that Elliot was just telling us about, or you can go and hopefully, get Travis Hunter. He's a guy that I think he's one of the guys that's kind of the epitome of the new age that we live in right now, understanding, knowing your value. And then you can just go out on social media and then you can go out and advertise for it. You can go out and sell it to a certain degree. I think a lot of people are thinking that he will lean Colorado because of obviously his ties to Deion Sanders. That doesn't look like a guaranteed home run situation. Looks like Georgia's in the mix as well. And let's just be honest. Let's just, call a spade here. He's got options here. So it's almost like a businessman's perspective. You will probably go to the place that can do all three things for you. Develop you off the field, develop you on the field, and develop your bank account to a certain degree. And I think that he's going to measure all these things all together. And whoever gets it, gets the early Christmas present.
So he also said whenever he gets to 100,000 subscribers on his YouTube account that he will announce his commitment. He had, as of when he announced that 2 hours ago, he had 72.3 thousand subscribers. He is now up to 91.1 thousand subscribers.
That's quick work. I mean, and this lets you know the power of social media because everybody will have a YouTube account. People will have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever social media accounts. He links that same post to all of them. It sees a lot more people. It sees a lot more eyeballs. And then obviously, he can get closer to his goal. So he made up 30% in a matter of hours. It all goes to how much you can leverage your own brand, and especially a place like YouTube where you can get direct advertising dollars with the growth of your page.
Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense why you would want to chase that. And we've seen certain athletes do it from all kinds of sports. I watched a little thing today and read a little thing today about a gymnast who was able to do the exact same thing. And make millions of dollars from LSU. So, you have a chance to really utilize that platform. It looks like he's doing just that.
Yeah, he is. And so, I mean, by the end of today, who knows? We may know where Travis Hunter is going to commit if it gets to 100,000.
Let's be honest. I think he already knows, or is maybe about 90% committed to where he's going. But he wants to make sure a couple extra dollars might float through his wallet before he actually tells everybody else where he's going.
Yeah, well, yeah. So that's pretty funny happening today as far as transfer portal. We do have a bowl game tonight, and it's a bowl game involving an in-state team, South Alabama, in the New Orleans Bowl. We'll break that down for you and hear from Coach Kane Womack coming up next.
Get our best deals of the year with
We continue on this Wednesday, National Signing Day. WKXX Live. Chase and Gerhard here with you. 256-413-1029 is our phone number. We've got the New Orleans Bowl tonight as South Alabama taking on Western Kentucky there in New Orleans. And excited to see another in-state team. UAB got the win. Troy got the win. We'll see if the Jags can get a dub tonight.
Yeah, we'll see if the state of Alabama can go to a clean sweep so far with Alabama still left to play here in bowl season. This is another one of those really interesting matchups because you have a really high-flying Western Kentucky offense led by Austin Reed, who was top 5 in the nation as far as passing yards go. We know what Tyson Helton and their staff has done with the Hilltoppers. And then we saw the resurgence this year of South Alabama, what they've been able to do offensively as well. There's a 3-headed monster at wide receiver. And so this is a really fun test here. And I think a really good game to cap off what has been just a tremendous season for South Alabama. The best season overall in school history. The first time they've ever had double-digit wins so far in their short history there as a program. Kane Womack has done a phenomenal job with this team, and we'll see if they can cap it off today with the win over Western Kentucky.
We had a chance to hear from head coach Kane Womack on what it's going to be like defending this Western Kentucky team.
Yeah, Western Kentucky is one of the high-flying teams in the entire country, and we got a chance to see that firsthand as Western Kentucky play some teams from the state of Alabama, and now they're going to get a chance to now play against South Alabama. Going into this matchup, Western Kentucky averages 483 yards per game. South Alabama's averaging about 424 yards per game. Two high-flying offenses, so the matchup will be on the defense, and Kane Womack talked a little bit about how to defend Austin Reed and crew going into tonight's game.
I think Tyson has done a really tremendous job, and his offensive staff. I think their quarterback, Austin Reed, has done a tremendous job of operating their offense and maximizing their efficiency, right? So if you give them an easy access throw, they're going to take that throw all day long. We're a fairly aggressive defense, right? We've got to make sure that we are not giving them easy access throws down the field. And then keeping the main thing. Oftentimes you see teams that are number 2 passing offense, and so you start committing all your resources, right, and schematics to stopping their passing game. You stop offenses that throw the football by making them one-dimensional, right? You stop the run first and foremost and do not let them bleed you, because the best offenses in the country, right, that throw the ball all over the field, they will bleed you in critical moments in the game in running the ball effectively and efficiently. And so they may not run it 50 times a game, but those runs that they do have, right, are critical. And so we got to make sure we keep the main thing there. Certain situational downs, or when we get them in second and long situations, we've got to make sure that we keep them in those third and longer scenarios by not giving them easy access throws.
Kane Womack, they're talking about Austin Reed and that offense. Really good quarterback there, and I mean, South Alabama has been tasked with some really good caliber quarterbacks, especially in the Sun Belt, but you got to think Austin Reed is maybe a step above those guys.
Yeah, especially from his talent standpoint. He didn't come from today's high school signing day, and we get a lot of these guys signing with these big schools everywhere. He wasn't one of those guys. He's developed. He went to a D2 program, and I think North Florida, and ended up winning a national championship there and at the D2 level, and then got a chance at the FBS level, and then tested the waters out a little bit this offseason, went to the transfer portal, and so there was a possibility that South Alabama was not going to play against Austin Reed in this game. But as we always talk about the transfer portal, just because you enter it doesn't mean you have to stay in it. However, once you leave it, there are certain situations where you don't get your spot back on your team. However, Austin Reed did come back, and he's now part of their team. And I mean, he's one of the nation's most prolific passers at a little over 300 yards per game. Their total offense over 400. But you heard Coach Womack say this is one of the big things they have to do. Defensively, they have to be good in situations. First down situations and second down situations, not giving them the short field, because those deadly passing offenses, they really go to work.
South Alabama and Western Kentucky tonight in the New Orleans Bowl. It's the only bowl game tonight, and it ironically falls on National Signing Day. And honestly, both of these teams are having to work to sign guys, but also trying to get ready to play a game.
Yeah, we talked about the difficulty just in general with the calendar and the transfer portal window and the early signing day, which has turned into the signing day. That's already enough for a lot of coaches to have to deal with. And then most coaches are also dealing with bowl preparations. Now, some coaches had their bowls before. UAB had their bowl before. Some few others have played some early bowls. Nick Saban and his team will play a little bit later down the road. This college football semifinal later down the road. Other people later down the road. This is a perfect crazy vortex of preparing for a game, preparing for your next season when recruiting, and trying to gauge the transfer portal and maybe some players that might be interested in your program. I couldn't imagine what those coaches are doing right now. They're having to pull probably 22-hour days just to get all their work done from a game plan standpoint and from a recruiting standpoint. So it's really tough, not to mention when they all funnel in on the same day.
Yeah, Coach Kane Womack spoke on that today.
I've been to a lot of bowl games. I think from a coach's son to a player and a coach myself, I think this is my 23rd bowl game overall. But I don't think I've ever had a bowl game and a signing day on the same day. I'm glad it's an 8 p.m. kick. Allows us to kind of handle some of our signing day festivities, if you will, early. And then we'll get a walkthrough in some of our meetings, all the things that we normally do leading up to game day as well. But that's the world we live in right now, right? The transfer portal and NIL opportunities have changed the dynamic and the timeline of the game. And so, good teams that are in good bowl games have to juggle the success of getting those extra bowl preparation practices and also bringing in the next group of players so that you can continue that success. I feel like our staff has navigated that very well. We also, I think there's a credit to the young men in our program that do things right on and off the field. And so oftentimes, right, you're out recruiting or you're preparing for a bowl game, and then all of a sudden there's a distraction of a guy that won't go to class, right, or you have an off-the-field issue. We don't have that. Our players do a tremendous job of taking care of their business on and off the field so that our coaches can focus on bettering this program.
Kane Womack, South Alabama head coach, talking about the signing day bowl game being the same day this year. But, hey, he credits his staff, and I know that has been a hard-working staff down in Mobile, Alabama, trying to put together a signing class and get ready for the New Orleans Bowl tonight. But you can see that coming up at 8 o'clock on ESPN. South Alabama 4-point favorite there over the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers there in New Orleans.
Yeah, and both teams averaging over 30 points per game. So a lot of times when we get these, you sometimes see the opposite. You think you're going to see a high-flying game, but sometimes you get the opposite. It's actually a low-scoring game because they're just so used to preparing for teams that spread you wide and go deep. And so it's a tough task for South Alabama. The over/under is 58, so a 4-point spread. I mean, you're talking about a relatively close ball game. So I expect it to be a good game and a good chance to see South Alabama close out the greatest season in program history.
Yep. So that is coming up tonight. It has been a busy day, busy show. We appreciate you for joining us. We appreciate all of our guests. Sylvester Smith joined us to start the show. Auburn signee. We had head coach Rich Rodriguez of Jacksonville State. We had Andrew Bone of Bama Insider. Earl Woods, Jacksonville State signee, join us on the show as well. So very busy show, and we certainly appreciate you for joining us on this busy day of covering National Signing Day. We'll be back with you tomorrow as plenty more college football talk, college basketball. There's a lot we didn't get into today that has happened over the last few days that we haven't been in with you, including some baseball. We'll talk about that coming up tomorrow, but I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
The Press Box. This is where the biggest names in the sports world tell it like it is.
Brad Nessler, our guest. When CB